A lot of gossiping these days on how AI is gonna steal our jobs. A lot of young ones are thinking if they choose the right career or not. But have you thought what we need to do in order to stop living with this fear? Humans have been progressed by having a way more complex than the other animals. So let's see how we can take advantage of this and find our place in the IT world together with Rachel. She has been a tester for 9 years. She has background in 3 areas of expertise, and she calls herself the discoverer of the broken. By the time we are releasing this new episode, it will be a Thursday afternoon. Usually on Thursday, I get ready for the next day. Fridays are less stressful. There's no deployment in production on Fridays. Usually I get ready to learn something new, and this is what we prepared for you today, a new and interesting topic to learn from. So, Rachel, we're gonna start by giving you the opportunity to present to our viewers. Who are you?
I'm Rachel Kibler. I live in Utah in the USA. I work for 1-800-CONTACTS, which sells contact lenses and eyeglasses online. I've been in testing for 9 years. I started as a lawyer. It was terrible. Love testing. This is the career for me. And this is my first time at Romanian Testing Conference, and I'm really happy to be here.
Great to hear that. Usually I have discussions with more younger friends or younger colleagues from the school I was in about how to choose the right path for your career, whether you should jump into it or not. Do you need a sabbatical year before deciding what should you get ready for or not? And some of us rely to some childhood or teenage experiences that led us to the career we choose in the end. Can you think of some of the experiences that you had in your early years that made you take this path?
I loved math as a kid. Growing up, math really made a lot of sense to me. And so that was my degree in college, one of my degrees in college. And when I stopped wanting to be a lawyer, I thought about a lot of different things and ran a startup and did a lot of the testing for it and found that my math brain, it clicked. It was a perfect fit for the analytical side and the creative side that I love expressing too. So this combination of math and creativity from very early on kind of blossomed into testing.
It is a good starting, and math does explain the world. I know I've read a book that says how math explains the world, and I remember having my mother, who's a medical doctor, saying me, math and physics helped me become the doctor. I'm not using it that much anymore, but shaped the way my brain works for what I'm doing. Yeah, we should not be afraid of math, right?
Right. Just please don't ask me to solve any integrals right now.
No. I'm quite afraid of the moment when I'll have to do it with my kid. I'll have to go to some crash course. Yeah, I forgot a lot, but still I think there's some cognitive impact that had and that helped me these days too, and help anyone else. Yeah. I want to go back to the main topic of the episode, which is the complexity of the human brain and how being that complex, like we are the most complex animals in this world, right? And that's helped us with our progress. And I've listened recently to the chief AI scientist from Meta, right, former Facebook, and he was saying something like, there's no one else that understands the world, that understands the context, that understands the complexity. LLMs cannot do this. AI is not able to do it. So how do you feel about this topic. Are we better than the AI still? Will we ever be? Is this our main, let's say, characteristic that will continue to help with our progress?
I do think so. Um, AI is great at solving problems and figuring out the most efficient way from point A to point B. But humans, what makes us so complex and deep is our ability to have compassion and empathy for each other. So
Yeah.
we may think, well, A to C, we go through point B. But when we think about another person, we may say, well, we need to take a little bit of a detour to make sure that these groups of people are also included. So it's our ability to have empathy and that complexity of emotion that I think makes us human and better suited to solve complex problems than just using complete analytics of LLMs and generative AI.
However, we still fear it, right? There's a lot of people that are afraid of it. I remember I had recently a discussion with a colleague of mine that it's pursuing a data analyst career, just started, and then 6 months later we meet and he asks, well, did I do something wrong? Will this be something that the tools will do and I will have to find a new job? Why we are so afraid when we are still the dominant species and when we can still do a lot of great things that the tools cannot do?
We can. And I think one thing is that we've heard for years, that AI is going, or that the role of the tester is going away, that we won't have a need for this role for software testing in 10 years or 20 years. But I think with the rise of AI and generative AI and the ability of it to write code, I think developer roles are on the line a lot more than tester roles because there needs to be that human element of being able to think about people in their daily lives and think about people with compassion.
Yeah, that's true. This is what we want to share, like our main goal with this new season is to help everyone understand that tools are okay. We've been discovering tools since the beginning when we were discovering fire and stone tools, right? And now we just have another tool
Right.
that would help us. But we what would be the difference between a software that it's built or tested by a tool only and the software that has the human touch on it?
I think software that is only tested by tools misses a lot of the human interaction and thinking about people who are having really bad days. So
Okay.
a tool can go through flows easily and say, well, of course the person is going to next do this. We do this with our automation all the time. We say, here's the happy path, here's the flow. And tested by tools, that's great, it's important. But tested by humans means that we can think about people on really bad days when they've just lost a family member, when they're grieving. We can think, well, is this text intuitive? Does it actually make sense? Does it tell a person what they need to do? Does this flow make sense? Is it really the best way to get someone through a flow?
Okay.
So we think more
Great.
about risk.
Okay. Risk. Good. I see this as an output somehow. How do we get ready for it? I mean, I'm discussing with more senior colleagues of mine that they've been used from the early days in computer science to learn a lot of things from a lot of areas of expertise. They were used to do a lot of things, right? Back then we had the full stack engineer in the team that was doing all the developments on all sides of the system, and was doing also testing, and was doing also the deployment and everything. And then we shifted this mindset in a lot of other domains, not IT only, where we became more specialized on some particular areas. But these colleagues of mine say, okay, if you want to stay relevant in front of the AI invaded the IT world, you need to start looking widely, start to
Mm-hmm.
learn things from other domains. So you have degree in math, right? You studied law. Now you're doing testing. You also studied music,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you feel that this combination has helped you somehow become the better tester in the end?
I do. To have all of these ways of thinking, both analytically and critically, to be able to look at the terms and conditions of things. Everyone hates reading terms and conditions. But as a tester, if we can do that and say, well, that's not how our software works. But this intersection of all of my past experiences and my interest in psychology and science, it means that I can think more deeply about software and how we should interact with it and how it should make our lives better.
Okay, so this is definitely something that we would recommend to everybody else. It's stay curious, learn new things. You never know how they can help you, right? It's always there. Looking in the past, so I've been in the school and I've learned about that and that and that, and I had I was stressed by my chemistry teacher, and I was stressed then in college by that teacher that was teaching us some testing instruments that I'm not using now. This is definitely the mindset we should have. We should drop, right? And
Right.
it's what would be the connected fields? What would be the directions in which you would recommend we go to broaden our knowledge that would be useful for a career in tech, or especially in testing?
I think psychology is one of the big ones of talking
Okay.
about how people interact with product. Design is also kind of still within the tech space, but understanding design concepts, which also falls into psychology,
Okay.
but also looking at history and how people came across discoveries and how reading biographies can be really inspiring. Watching documentaries about how con artists work, about how people make paintings and come up with, find dinosaur bones, things like that. All of these both inspiring and interesting ways that just broaden our horizons. And you get some good stories out of it. I know a lot of weird facts about bananas, not for any good reason, but they make good party stories.
What I'm interested about is how can we stay focused into absorbing this new knowledge, because I'm just gonna share a personal experience. Okay, so we have these days full of activities that we have to do, me and my wife, in within our professional task, and we have tasks around the house with our kid, and then at the end of the day we say, okay, I'm tired, let's watch an episode on Netflix, and we get into the story of those characters, and those movies, those episodes are not designed to help us learn something new, but just to keep us in front of the TV or the computer, right? And for example, our strategy is, once we know that we are losing time in that direction, one of us say, okay, today we're gonna read a book and then we're gonna discuss about it, okay? Or let's watch this documentary and see if we can identify some important ideas that could be helpful for us. What are the things that work for you to stay focused on reading or learning new stuff about history or
I
psychology?
like podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah, I love podcasts. So I'll put one on while I'm doing dishes or folding laundry because those are
Okay.
terribly boring tasks.
So half of the brain is focused on the laundry or dishes, and the other half is listening to what the guys are discussing. Okay.
I also like, there is an app, and I've completely forgotten the name of it, but it has highlights from books. It distills books into the core concepts, and that I'll use sometimes when I just want to figure out the main themes of a book and decide if I want to read it more
Okay, yeah,
thoroughly.
this is a good suggestion. Yes, I don't remember the name either. I'm bad at reminding names, but I know that Andrei, the co-founder of the conference, recommended to me when I was saying, okay, I need to read more books, right? Now I'm doing the old-fashioned way. I have the book next to my bed, and I have my rule of 30 pages read every 2 days.
Oh,
So at
wow.
the end of the year, I should have a lot of books read. Hopefully, I'm not sure exactly what will be the outcome, but going back to what you said, so I'm doing something, and in the meantime, I'm listening to a podcast. I've listened to somebody saying that he thinks we have a problem these days because we try to do too many things in the same time, which becomes something that can be against our productivity. How do you feel about this? Or it's only with the repetitive, boring chores that we are allowed to combine multiple tasks?
For me, it has to be a boring, repetitive chore that I listen to a podcast on during. Um, if I'm trying to text my partner and listen to a podcast, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's too much. We do absolutely, I agree that we have an attention problem. It's so easy to get on Facebook and just scroll.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get distracted by things and lose focus of what's important. But we also have so many important things to do in our daily life.
Of
Um,
course.
Taking care of family and kids and taking care of a house, doing our work, doing work well. It's hard to find those few minutes where you don't have anything going on.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. The day looks to be too small these days. Yes, we
Yes.
need more than 24 hours within a day. But somehow, even though we absorb this big amount of information, sometimes it's like when you buy a lot of things and you put them around the house, and at some point you have to say, okay, let's do some cleanup now, let's do some sorting, let's throw what we don't need, and let's put in the right place where we can easily access what we need. How can we do that? I'm remembering something that I heard to some guy saying, you need more time, maybe once a week, once a month, in which is silent, you don't have anything around. Just get bored and let your brain process the information and process the things you absorb, so you know what you need to do next.
So, a good night of sleep is crucial. Making sure that you're getting however much sleep your body needs, whether that's 6 hours or
This
nine
is
hours.
perfect advice for tech guys, right?
Yes.
Tech guys combine hours of not sleeping with coffee and the pizza into building software. It's not working anymore like this. We do need that hours of sleep.
We do. So it does vary for everyone, but if you can find a rhythm where you are waking up without an alarm, then your sleep is better. You feel more refreshed in the morning. But what happens during sleep is that we process the things during the day. We take all of these big chunks of information and we basically defragment. Do you remember the days of defragging your
Yeah,
computer?
yeah.
That's what our brain does during sleep. We defrag our brains. And so we make room for new stuff and we figure out problems during the night.
Okay, so we had good hours of sleep. we've learned new stuff besides the one we have a major in and we've studied in college or we studied while working. uh, we have the tools set up in our environment, the tools that we are already used to because we use tons of tools in IT, right? Plus the new AI tools. There's a lot of them helping us with the automation of those boring repetitive tasks. Just like you have to do laundry at home, you have the laundry in your software, right? And you have the tools that are doing it. What are the things that you can imagine will never be replaced by tools? What are the things that you do as a tester? Like, if you can give some clear examples to our viewers, what are the things that you do as a tester manually, only you and the software you are in front of, without any tools?
So I think the role of a tester is actually broader than just me with the software,
Okay.
where we analyze risk and we raise that risk. I think the interaction with the software can be minimal with a human if the job of a tester is done at those early stages. Like if we're talking about risk and why things can go wrong, if we're talking about how people can get into really bad situations so that we don't have to find them when we're testing, if we can ask questions about designs and say, well, I like the buttons here, but maybe they aren't intuitive. If we can raise risk early, then we have less to do. We have less to do with the software itself. And I don't think that those questions can ever really be replaced.
Yeah.
That discussion and that conversation needs to happen all the time.
Between all the members in the team, or do you see testers more closely to the product team or more closely to the development engineering team? I mean, you've spent some time, you and your thoughts and your ideas, and you've analyzed the risk. Okay, how do you put this in back into the software, and where is your part in?
So it depends on what phase of the development lifecycle we're at. Early phases, I work very closely with my product owner and my designer, very closely. We talk about things all day. And then as we get closer to where code is being written and code is being tested, then I work very closely with developers. And there's a lot of conversation there with some outwards feelers to product owner of, do you really like this? Because this is weird, but this is what you said you wanted. But it depends, earlier with product owners and later with developers.
Which is the exact interaction that you cannot put into multiple AI agents with different roles that would communicate one to another to get to the same outcome. Yeah, this is somehow, based on my experience so far, I see this as the ideally set up. Unfortunately, there's a lot of cases when we have strict things defined, right? Somebody gives a list of tasks and we just have to do it, and it's difficult to change how the things work in an organization.
It
what
is.
what would you do to, if you are the tester that is listening to you now and resonate with what you are saying and doesn't want to leave the organization but want to make a small change in the organization towards this approach, what would be the first thing that he or she would have to do? Difficult.
Well, I've been really spoiled with my jobs.
Okay.
I've been really lucky to be able to create what I call a Rachel-shaped job and not just a strictly testing-shaped job. I would say that one of the things is just showing up to more meetings, saying, I want to be in that meeting, and then keeping your camera on, so that you're visible and asking a question here or there, saying, have we thought about this? How can we test that? Like making your presence known, seeing your value early on, just showing up and making it happen. And if they say no,
Yeah.
try again.
Try again. Yeah. Of course. Try again is always the best tool. I do have another great question for you. So, we've explored how an individual could broaden knowledge and become better than was yesterday and have an impact within the organization, but also with all these strategies in the end is that we want to deliver better quality and better experience for the users of the systems we take part in designing and implementing, right? But in the end, as you said, we work in groups, and this is how humans evolved, right? It's our brain is complex and helped us work together and progress as a species. Now, there's this a building community strategy or take part into a community that is already built. What's there for you as an IT guy? Is it the place where you do learn new stuff by sharing knowledge or hearing others, or is it just the self-esteem that you get by building this community? Why should we do it, whether it's cross organizational like open communities, or even if you're part of a big organization, maybe you need one with all the people around you that are closely to you?
I think we build better software when we can feel vulnerable with each other. It's about psychological safety.
Okay.
So when we're talking about, if we just always say no, or you're wrong, or we're going to do it my way, that doesn't build very good software. But when we can challenge things gently, when we can say, I'm not sure this is the right direction, can we talk about this? Or I don't feel good about this. Creating community for me is about creating a community of vulnerability where people can talk to each other and open up and build stronger relationships with each other so that we build better software. There's one community that I work on that one of the questions is, what's something hard you've done recently? And so people get to talk about what they've done that's wonderful, but also hard. And so it brings in moments of vulnerability where they can say, I worked really hard on this and it was uncomfortable. And so it lets people connect with each other more easily.
Yeah. Vulnerability is part of our lives, right? And who we are. I mean, there's no me in my personal life and me in my professional life. I'm always discussing about this with people that say, okay, we need that work-life balance, right? They are affected one by the other. We are the same. And if I have a problem back at home, I will be the same guy with a problem at office, right? Having a negative impact within my organization there. But somehow, even though we understand this or we live this, it's the part that makes us be, let's say, afraid of sharing this part of ours, right? I ask somebody to do something, and instead of getting help from a community, prefers to spend more time and lose more time for the entire team trying on his own. Why? Because otherwise would have to admit that doesn't know how to do it alone. But it's okay, right? This is what we want to share. It's okay to get help.
Indeed. I think so. I like the idea. I think a lot of us bring the same person to work and home, but there are also barriers that plenty of us put up. And also, we can be the same person and not allow everyone into our thoughts and our feelings. Not everyone is entitled to know how I'm feeling about certain things. And sometimes we go a little far and put out barbs instead of just putting up a shield. And that's hard because when people get defensive around not wanting help or not wanting to accept help, that makes it hard to really relate to each other and to build good software. We don't do it very efficiently.
Yeah. It was a wonderful conversation, and we really learned a lot, right? So math is good.
Math is great.
Having knowledge in multiple areas, it's good. Watch a documentary, learn history, it's good, right? Can help you become a better professional. What else? Communities are good, getting help is good. AIs were and are and will always be part of our lives as IT professionals, but there's still a lot of things that we as humans can and need to do
Right.
to deliver the quality our users expect. And this would be like the only motivation we should be part of this IT world, right? It's not, shouldn't be only the paycheck at the end. Do it if you really think you can build something useful for your peers in the end. And maybe for yourself. You might be the user of the system you are designing.
Right.
Yeah. Is there anything that I haven't asked and you want to share with our viewers, or maybe some final thoughts?
I think one of the important things about daily life is also getting away from work. Like you talked about having moments of silence in a month and getting bored, but having time where you can just relax. Whether that, for me, that's doing music, where it's easy to just take time and shut out the rest of the world and focus on something that makes me really, really happy. And I think that's important for professional and personal life, and it makes us a better human when we show up to work.
I do imagine a future when I can have some more time to get back on my guitar lessons and spend some time, maybe once a month, playing the guitar and forget about everything. Yeah, wonderful advice. Thank you, Rachel, for taking time for this. Thanks, everyone, for watching. If you found our content useful, share it with somebody in your organization, your school, or your group of tech friends. Drop us a comment, a feedback on the platforms you are watching, and stay curious. See you on the other side.